welcome. Today we're going to actually talk about desktop modernization. If you're a desktop app developer or you have an app in your environment that's actually targeting desktop, you do app packaging, distribution, whatever you do, if it's related to desktop, you're on the right session. And welcome. I know this is a hard room to find. I had a hard time finding this room, having to walk all the way from the corner. So if you're one of the ones who have made it all the way here, that's great. Hopefully there are a few more folks. It's like I already got multiple pings for folks to find this room to come here. Before I do, we'll actually start talking about two things in this talk. One, I want to actually give you a holistic view of Microsoft viewpoint of what desktop app modernization means. What it actually means is you have an app today, you want to take it forward, what's Microsoft doing, especially targeting desktop? Two, there are a lot of talks for the rest of the event, and we have actually put together the list of talks and list of detailed information that would be helpful for you to decide if you want to go drill down into some of the sessions and understand more technology, which ones for you to attend to get more details. So hopefully you get both of these things before we end the session. Let me actually give you a quick intro. My name is Jayaprakasam Sidhen Tirunavakarasu. If you see the really, really long name, that's me. Call me JP. We're both from the Windows developer platform team. So we focus on developer APIs, developer scenarios, specifically targeting Windows, and actually even narrow down to say, like, what should we do for the desktop scenarios. I've been with Microsoft for about 19 years now. There are a couple of things that have been common for in my career. One, talking with partners, customers like you. I really love going out and understanding what the requirements are, and then bringing it back into engineering and see how we solve the problem. And two, desktop. For almost 20 years, I've been working on desktop technologies, going and taking different technology solutions, targeting the desktop scenarios. And this talk allows me to combine both these areas and talk about what's the forward direction for any of the apps that are targeting desktop. So thank you. Let me actually introduce Jesus, who will be actually co-presenting with me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jesus Barranco. I am a senior program manager in the Windows Developer Platform team. And I started my career 12 years ago in Microsoft as an application developer consultant. And as a consultant, I always loved two things. And one was to talk to customers, to enterprises, to understand their challenges and understand their current business processes. And second was to see how we can solve these issues or how we can improve the processes with Microsoft technology. So I really love doing that much. And then I had the opportunity to join this team, the Windows Developer Platform team, but I didn't want to lose that connection with customers and with partners. So as part of the ecosystem team, I am still able to rely and talk to customers, to partners, to learn from them, get their feedback, and bring those feedback to the future team to see how we can build a better product for you.
Cool, thank you. So a lot of the things that we will be talking today would be related to what the customer experiences are. But take a step back. I think, like, for me, when I come to these events, or actually even outside, when I see the world, I see there's a lot of things that are changing around us. You see there is a sense of urgency that's been forced upon every one of us. The way business is conducted, the way what the users expect from companies, everything is changing. The companies want to be more modern, more digital than what they were yesterday. We use a lot of business jargon. We talk about modernization, digital transformation. Whatever it is, we know there are things that are evolving, there are things changing. Information technology is on the core of everything that we talk about. And as we move through with this change, the IT leaders or the company leaders look at information technology as the way to go make these changes. So let's embrace this change. A lot of it in the talk, what we'll talk about how these changes impact desktop. And like Jesus and I talked about earlier, what are the different companies' viewpoint of it and how Microsoft can help with this change. So I'll start with this. We went and talked with, for the last almost 2 years, we went and talked with a lot of companies across the world, from major Fortune 500 companies to small ISVs, to system integrators, to tooling partners who write software. And we wanted to get their point of view on what they see the changes happening. And there are some consistent themes that emerge out of it. On top of the mind, everyone starts thinking about Windows 10, M365, how to get there. But on top of it, they started talking about some very generic themes. I called out a few of them. To the extreme, there are a few companies who asked me, I have a lot of apps that I've created in the last 10, 15 years. Will my app run if I move over to Windows 10? Should I start rewriting it? When I first heard that question, I was taken back. It's like, what do you mean by rewriting it? But then once I start internalizing the data and then talking with few customers, it's not a weird question. It's a very valid question for folks to understand. Unless Microsoft comes out and promises what will and what will not run, there's an inherent question mark around what should the companies do. And to the other extreme, where there are companies who have already modernized their infrastructure, their hardware has already evolved, and they want to see, like, okay, I have an app that's been a few years old. What should my next step be? How do I actually take my current apps and make use of these modern constructs that have been available to things in between where an IT organization always worries about? How do I actually keep cost in mind when I'm packaging, repackaging things? What should I do? Can Microsoft help me with that? And how do I actually take care of privacy, security-related areas? So it's a lot of common themes, and hopefully this presentation is the one that answers if you have questions in mind around any of this topic or even things that what we think is broader set of assets that we are working on.
So when we start putting the content together, JP and I, we were thinking about showing you the features, the new features that we have available in the developer platform, and we wanted to put all of that together. But then we thought that it was worth it to take 1 or 2 steps back and first clarify or answer some fundamental questions. And these questions are, why Windows 10 is ideal for enterprises, and what should I do with my existing assets? So basically, JP will be covering the 4 modernization journeys that we see that are available for you to take for your existing assets. And then I will be covering what are the new investments that we have available for you in the developer platform. So having said that, let's deep dive.
Okay. I know a lot of you are actually already working on Windows. That's the reason why you're actually here. So, but I want to take a few minutes to answer some very fundamental questions so that we are actually on the same page before we start talking about more technical question. If it's on the top of your mind, you have a question, why is Windows the right target for enterprises? Want to make sure that's actually well answered. Historically, as well as now and going forward, if you look at it, PC is one of the ideal platform for any commercial or business user. It could be for different reason. It could be because you have the desktop and mouse combination, your keyboard and mouse combination that you use for your day-to-day operations, or is it the native app that actually gives you all the capabilities that you need to go run your app? Or we actually start modernizing these scenarios. You want to actually use some of the modern capabilities of cloud and desktop combinations, or want to go really native in terms of utilizing PC's functionality. Your desktop gives you all this functionality, plus we want to actually leverage your existing assets, whatever investments you have made in the past, and want to be able to have the ability to carry over as you modernize and move forward on. We went and asked the same question to a lot of enterprises to understand what's on top of their mind when they start thinking about desktop and modernization. The theme was very clear. Their main thing is like they want Microsoft to help with leveraging their existing assets, primarily their apps that they've created multiple years, and help it move forward. So for Microsoft, in practice, it's actually the work is cut very clean. We need to make sure from a Windows 10 standpoint, the deployment needs to be landing very clearly, and app compatibility should be the top motion, which is something I'll talk about more of these things in detail as we go through the subsequent slides. And then the app needs to work, and then the app needs to perform to the things that you want to do. And as you modernize your application framework, the app needs to, you don't have to rewrite the app. We want to make sure we give you the capability where your application can be expanded and modernized without impacting the core functionalities. So let's talk about Windows 10 for a second before we go into the details. So if you're talking about, if you have a question in mind, why are we talking about Windows 10 now? We talked about Windows 10 during build earlier this year. We announced that Windows 10 is the most used Windows operating system in the world. We're actually way over 700 million users that are using Windows 10 today. This is telemetry that we can run with the users that we have visibility into. There's a lot of enterprises that are behind a firewall that we don't have numbers for. So the number is much greater than that. And enterprises pick Windows 10 for different reasons, whether it's for the security or the payback period, the short payback period that they have, but they're actually all moving towards it, either from all the studies that we have or based on the conversations we are having with enterprises. We're already seeing the enterprises are actually either taking the first step to move towards Windows 10 and are actually piloting it, or in some cases they've already moved over to Windows 10. Now they're considering looking at what should they do with their application framework. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation as you go through this journey and getting ready for Windows 10. We want to give you the right tooling that are needed for you to be getting ready for your Windows 10 adoption as well. If you are one of the few that haven't thought about Windows 10, I also want to talk about one of the dates that are actually coming up very fast, which is January 2020, which is the end of life of support for Windows 7. So if you haven't thought about Win 10 migration, this is a great time to start thinking about it because 2020 is not too far away. So now that we talked about Windows and Windows 10, I want to take a step back, talk about Windows Developer Platform history. It might be a history lesson for a few of you, but want to give you a quick overview because a lot of the discussions we'll have subsequently will be based on where we go forward from a starting point. Microsoft launched WinForms probably about 20 years back. I was not in Microsoft at the point. I remember it was actually very easy to use. I wrote a lot of apps at the time for my friend's enterprise. It was one of groundbreaking at that point to have a WinForm app that could be written and then can be deployed very fast. Then we launched WPF a few years later, which had a lot more powerful UI components and had a lot more API support, which allowed us to get a lot more scale. From there, if you really look at today, there are still a lot of apps that are using WinForms, WPF apps that are actually created and in production. I want to actually, because a lot of the talks that we'll go forward will be based on it, I want to get an idea from you. How many of you today have apps that are written in WPF, WinForm, or some native apps that are still in production that's still running today? Yeah, that's what I expected. When we go and talk with companies, that's what we see is like these apps are still highly prevalent in the world. And when we created the Windows 10 platform a few years back, primarily targeting the ecosystem of partners that are actually new form factor of tablets as well as interoperability, our target was in a slightly different area, not to go impact anything on the enterprise side with WinForm or WPF. And then when we tried to help these bridge this gap, we came out with a couple of technology in the last few years. We came out with a desktop app converter, which helps to take your existing Windows apps and could convert it and move it over to the store. And then PWAs help with taking any of your web assets that you have today and then can bring those over to make use of any of the native capabilities in the platform. These are just some of the big investments. It's not a comprehensive list, but this could be a good starting point of where the distribution of app platform or a developer platform investments are there so far. So talking about like, okay, I have my existing investments in all these assets. What do I do going forward? That would be a primary question I want to get answered. Before I go further with actually talking about what we need to happen, I want to make some fundamental promises. From a Microsoft standpoint, whatever is the technology bet that you have today, whether it's WPF, WinForm, or some native application or web application, we will have a path forward for you. There are things that we will do. We want to make sure we understand the technology and how you're using the technology today in your environment so we can give you the right process, right path forward in terms of what the solution are. We'll talk about things that, based on the conversations we had so far, what are some of the solutions we already have, and if there are things that you don't hear from this talk, do reach out to us and we'll actually talk about how to actually handle as we go forward. So let's start with going back to where we are. Irrespective of where your current investments are, historically you would have actually created applications with WinForm, WPF, web assets, whatever it might be. You created it for a specific reason. Maybe it's because of platform of choice, or is it the technology availability, or that was what the dev's capability, competency was. You could have picked any of these things. And when you look at in a snapshot in time from now, if you look at where you want to go from here, there are multiple paths that you could take. We charted out 4 journeys we could call. as things where you could actually, depending on where you want to be, depending on various factors. It could be where your company wants to invest in, technology choices, cross-platform investments, or how much of UI versus back-end investments you want to make. You could talk about different journeys. I think like the first step you could talk about is your app just needs to run as one of the journeys, or you want to leverage some of the modern investments that are available in desktop. For example, we invested a lot in improving the packaging mechanism in the modern capabilities. So if you want to leverage that and not necessarily rewrite your app, then that becomes a different journey, versus if you want to enhance your app. You want to take your current app, and rather than complete rewrite, you want to start adding functionality to the app using some of the modern scenarios that we have invested in. You could easily do that using some of the enhancement features. Or the fourth journey is actually a complete rewrite. If you decide you want to target some new hardware, for example, HoloLens or Xbox, or you want to target a new cross-platform experience, at that time you are going to create a new experience and a new app. And we can talk about from how do you go from now to take to any of these four journeys. We'll spend the next maybe 10, 15 minutes talking about each of the journey. Then we can talk about like the new investments or the new platform investments we are making from Microsoft. So let's take one at a time. So the first journey is about app can just run. This is a very fundamental question. If you want it, we make like 4 promises on this one. The first one is, if we have any APIs that are published in Microsoft, we will make sure that those APIs are supported, and we don't make any changes to break it. If there is any reason why we need to go make changes to those APIs, we will communicate these changes well ahead of time through the compatibility cookbook, so you're aware of it and you can plan for it way in advance. We typically don't make these changes. In case there is a need for change, we'll communicate it. If for any reason you actually think like your app is actually broken or actually has any issues because of any other changes Microsoft did, we will take care of it. Contact us, and through support, we'll actually give you free support, and we'll make sure the app remediation is taken care of. We also look at a lot of the app health telemetry in our backend. If you think like it will help you, and we shared it with a lot of customers, if you're one of the ones who don't have access to your Win32 app telemetry, do reach out to us, and we can actually share the app telemetry mechanism with you. Even if you're behind a firewall in an enterprise, we can share this telemetry, which will help you to decide if your app is behaving good or if there are some things that you need to do to make it better. And the fourth one is we are also proactively monitoring the top apps that are being used, as well as the companies that we work with the top enterprises, consumer companies, to start monitoring their top app for health. And if we do notice anything that's broken, we go back and communicate, and we work with those ISVs to remediate the situations. So these are the 4 promises I could make around compat. What it means is our primary target being Windows 10 being the most compatible operating system ever. Behind the scenes, we take care of a lot of things. We go and actually test the top apps, as well as all the apps that are normally used by enterprises, consumers, and test it against multiple different hardware on a day-to-day basis to make sure we can keep up with the compatibility high bar. And across releases, if we don't meet the 99% bar, we don't move from one build to the other. And on top of all the daily tests that we are running, we also rely on millions of insiders who are actually using the build to make sure that they are testing their scenarios, their app portfolio, and give us the feedback. And you can see there's more than 20K feedback that's been submitted. We take every single one of them seriously. And those are high priority issues that goes immediately to the team that works on the feature and take care of it. That's the way we keep the compat promise. The compat promise, basically what it translates to you is if you have an app and if there's about a chance of 99% telemetry of compatibility that Microsoft is guaranteeing and testing it out, the chances of you have to test it out and consistently keep a pulse on it goes down. So you can actually, it's a much easier path for you if you want your app to just run. So that's the step 1 that you can talk about. And if you want to get more details on compatibility story, we have a few talks lined up for you throughout the Ignite event. There is a talk by Alex and Bill that goes into the details about the fast track process that I talked about. This is a session that will actually go into the details. If you're an ISV or own a Windows application, and want to actually get Microsoft hand-holding or support in terms of how you can actually move your app to get to the compatibility, 100% compatibility with Windows 10, this is a great talk to attend. I don't want to steal their thunder. There's really a lot of good news in terms of how they can actually help support app developers. So do attend the session. There is a talk from Bruno and Rama that talks about app analytics. If you want to actually start using app telemetry within your data, this is a great talk where they go into the details about where you want to actually go feed into the app telemetry. There is another talk by Ying. Sorry, don't run away. This talk is happening right now, so most likely you will actually miss this session. But it's actually recorded, so it's a short session that talks about Win32 analysis. So you can go back once you get back to your hotels, or later you can go back and listen to the session. Now that we talked about the first step, which is your app needs to just run as a journey, let's talk about the next one. There's a lot of things we can talk about in here about app isolation or app experiences, your packaging and deployment. Let's take one. I want to talk about more in detail about your app distribution, app packaging and distribution as an next step forward. Now that you know your app just runs, you could have been using any of this mechanism for your distribution, whether it's your setup.exe, or MSI, or some of you might have written a custom script to do packaging. One thing that Microsoft didn't do over the years for packaging and distribution is we didn't standardize the constructs. We didn't standardize how the packaging should work or the distribution mechanisms should work. So each one actually did things in a different way depending on where you need to be, which resulted in a lot of issues, whether it's rotting of how the system works, or in terms of cost involved with the upkeep of this, the packaging distribution mechanisms, it become harder to upkeep. So we are standardizing it finally. We are coming out with MSIX as the technology. That will be a superset of all the distribution mechanisms that you saw so far and bring it together. And there are multiple advantages of getting across to MSIX. I'll mention a few of those things. And the first one, if you're actually an IT pro or a company that actually owns a bunch of these apps, the main factor for you when you talk about packaging and distribution is cost. You have an app that you purchase or get it from one of your developers. You start talking about repackaging. You get to an ISV or to an SI, and they start repackaging your application. You deploy it. There are some changes happening in the operating system. You have to do another repackaging. Or if there are changes that are happening in your IT environment or your app changes, you keep continuously repackaging your application. Every time there is a repackaging, there is a heavy cost involved in those packaging and repackaging effort. So with MSIX, we want to make sure you cut the cost factor associated with it. So we are actually breaking apart the OS, app, and IT updates independently. So that way, you don't have to worry about every single changes. Each one of it can be handled in an independent way. The second bullet is around the user. If I'm a user, I go buy a device. After I start installing a bunch of applications, these apps start installing the registry, starts updating the registry, starts writing to the file system object, and does some sort of a chain install. And then I start uninstalling some of the apps. It doesn't always uninstall cleanly. Sooner or later, you realize your device starts behaving slowly, and we call it as Windows rot. We want to make sure that as an end user, if you install an app, you have to be confident when you uninstall the app, it actually uninstalls cleanly. MSIX will take care of all those things for you. And that for a user standpoint, that's one of the high bullet points. On top of it, as a packaging, repackaging, or an ISV, we also made the packaging instructions and deployment steps much simpler and also optimized for both from a disk space side of things as well as on the networking side of things. Let me play a really quick video to talk about the MSIX technology.
Your enterprise is built to be a well-oiled machine, fueled by apps and geared for modernization. But the constant flow of app updates has you stuck in a cycle of packaging that devours your time and resources. Facing a backlog of updates, productivity grinds to a halt, and security threats advance. Break free from your packaging paralysis with MSIX, an open-source, modern deployment technology that smooths your packaging to installation process. MSIX decouples OS updates, app updates, and customizations to keep code flowing. You'll never regret installing an app with predictable, trusted, and streamlined deployment. MSIX installs only what you need, optimizing disk space and network bandwidth. The MSIX container isolates applications, enabling safe and reliable performance across the lifecycle. And say goodbye to machine rot, thanks to clean uninstalls. Take back control of your deployment process and get the most out of your enterprise with MSIX.
We are working with a lot of companies to make sure we are actually targeting the right challenges with packaging and distribution. Just want to call out some of the partners who are actually co-engineering with us today. Either it's an ISV or an SI or some of the enterprises. Let's double click on them. Here are the ISV. These are the tooling ISVs. If you're using any of these tooling partners for your packaging needs, we're already working with all of them to make sure that MSIX is one of these supported technologies. If you don't see a packaging partner that you're using in this list, do talk to us after the session. We want to make sure that we have them covered as well. Some of these ISVs have already registered support for MSIX. These ones have actually already, as of today, have MSIX support within their tooling. So you could actually, if you're using any one of them, you should be able to download their tooling and can start using MSIX. If you're using system integrators for your packaging needs, we are working with all the global SIs as well as some of the regional SIs to make sure they are actually aware of the MSIX technology, as well as to take care of packaging needs when you go through the SIs. And these are some of the ones who are actually doing now active work to taking a packaging workload and see how MSIX can solve those challenges. And we are also running through EAP programs for MSIX technology. So if your enterprise wants to be part of piloting some of the MSIX technology, you can always join the MSIX community and download the documentations that are available right now. There are a couple of partners I want to call out, like T-Mobile and HP, already are taking their complete app portfolio and going through the MSIX wizard and converting everything over to MSIX. So if you want to participate, feel free to reach out to us. We can give you more details on what you could do. If you want to get more details about MSIX, there are about 3 talks that we have for rest of the session. John and Nuna talks about what are the future investments we are making related to MSIX. This will be a good session for you to attend if you want to talk about some of the complex things that we are doing. And John, Andy, and Dian are doing a session specifically talking about MSIX accelerating from an IT pro perspective. If you want to talk about Configuration Manager as a tool and want to get more details about MSIX and how tooling can actually help, especially on the deployment side of things, we have a talk from Sharla and Ari who would actually talk about the details. Don't worry if you didn't actually, I know some of you are actually capturing the information. If you haven't actually captured it here, we have a session slide at the end, which actually gives you the complete overview of all the sessions that might be interesting for you, and we'll share it with you. So now that we talked about the first 2 steps, now the third step is where it gets interesting. You want to take your existing app and want to start leveraging some of the newer functionalities and features we have added in the last 2 years related to the modern APIs. Take a step back before I go into the details. We created this paradigm, whether it's knowingly. I shouldn't say knowingly or unknowingly. Knowingly, we created this paradigm. We had the desktop application targeting the desktop users, and then in the last 2-3 years, we created the Modern Application Framework, or UWP, targeting more of a consumer scenarios. There's a reason why we created these 2 separate platforms. You could think about it as that way, because the attributes and the functionalities of each one were different. Let's take a look at the desktop applications first. It was targeted primarily for your desktop PCs, and the data was sitting inside your PC, and you didn't care about how it was distributed, whether it's on a website, or you took it on a USB stick and gave it to someone, or you downloaded from a website. Primarily, it was using WinForms, WPF. UI wasn't the big form factor. And so you wanted to go use a lot of native functionalities that PC was offering. Whereas if you go to the other extreme, when we came out with the modern application framework, the target was completely the other side. It was designed for reuse. It was designed with security, privacy in mind. And the target of distribution was always through a store. And UI was a key constraint. So you can look at, like, there were benefits on both sides. There were actually things people liked on both sides of the equation. So we wanted to see like a way where we can bring these two things together. That's where a lot of our effort has been going on for the last few months. We are taking the best of both sides. We are taking all the scenarios and things that work very well in a desktop, for example, windowing, and we are actually bringing that into the modern application framework. At the same time, we are taking things that work really good on the modern application framework, for example, the capability model, which takes care of your privacy, or some of the UI framework, the XAML framework, the Fluent scenarios that are actually getting really good reviews from the developers on the modern application framework. We want to make sure that we bring that into the desktop application, so as a desktop developer, you leverage all those benefits of things that we did in the last 2 years as well. So in theory, we are trying to bring these two ecosystems together, or two different platforms together, so it looks and feels like the same. From a desktop app developer point of view, think about it this way. Your desktop app remains in the middle. And we want to break the barrier of all the modern UI, modern UWP work we did, and a la carte UWP in a way that you can pick and choose what you want to do. So if from your desktop app, if you want to use any of the UWP APIs we have invested in the last 2+ years, you should be able to just directly call those APIs from now. You don't have to be constrained by just the desktop APIs. Now you want to use any of the XAML controls or the UI infrastructure that we have invested in, you will be able to call them from your desktop application. You want to use more of WinML, you want to use inking capabilities, or you want to recompile your app with .NET Core, or you want to actually make use of some of the app container constructs, or any of the investments we have made. We want to just piecemeal each one of them. So from your desktop app, you can consume all, or you can consume whichever ones that you want to utilize. Let's talk about a few of them just to give you a sense of where we are actually heading. Let's talk about .NET Core. .NET Core is our answer for cross-platform implementation of .NET. So far, our target has been web and cloud. That's how we have been targeting .NET, .NET Core specifically. And with .NET Core 3.0, we are bringing desktop, IoT, as well as AI scenarios to this mix. What it means for a desktop app developer is that it brings all the benefits and advantages of a .NET Core for your desktop scenarios. For example, you can use XAML islands, XAML controls. We'll talk about it in more detail. You bring all of those things to .NET, and you also get additional benefits. For example, side-by-side installation of .NET Framework has been one of the heavily requested features. With utilizing .NET Core, now you would be able to do all of those functionalities. You get other things like global and local cache on framework. I'm not going to read through each one of those slides because it will take a long time just to talk about one feature. I'll share this slide so you can look at more of these details, but let me talk about the high-level points first. The next one is XAML islands. With us piecemealing all the UWP infrastructure and bringing in, now you can take all the XAML investments, all the UI, all the control investments we have actually done so far, and you can actually bring it into your WPF or WinForm apps. And if you're in a place where you want to only modernize the UI and want to keep all the backend infrastructure the same, now with all the XAML island work, you could actually go and do that. We're also opening up all the UWP APIs that we have invested in. There are some APIs that are better than their desktop companion, or in some cases, these are new APIs that we've invested in. Whether it's mixed reality APIs or XAML APIs or machine learning APIs, from within your desktop scenarios or desktop app, you would be able to call all these APIs. The work that we are doing right now is to go make all these APIs as dual. So that way, irrespective of whether you're calling it from a Win32 or from an UWP app, you're calling it the exact same way, and you can leverage all these APIs. So just want to call out a couple of partners who are actually doing co-engineering work with us on the technologies I just talked about in the last few slides. Citrix is a heavily Win32 based application type company, and they use the desktop bridge to move their existing application, Win32 application, to the store. the advantage of moving it over by modernizing it and moving it all into the store, now they can target Win10s as well as some of the customers that they weren't actually able to target before. Siemens Healthineers is a different case. They're actually one of the enterprises that have a heavily focused on the UI side of things. And they have been co-engineering with us to give a lot of feedback, and they've been actually doing some work on their side to modernize their UI using the XAML framework and the XAML controls. So they're keeping all their Win32 assets as it is and using the XAML island to just modernize their UI. So a couple of partners who are actually already doing things that I just talked about, and before we actually started publishing it widely. If you want to get more details specifically around the work from utilizing all the modern framework from within your desktop, Adam and Miguel has a really good talk. I encourage you to go to this one tomorrow to talk about the details about how you can access all these APIs as well as UI framework from within your Win32 application. Now to come to the last step, if you want to take your existing app and want to now not go forward with that, but want to rewrite your app for different reasons, you always have Win10. I wanted to reemphasize that Windows 10 is still a great platform to target, not just from an development platform standpoint, but also all the native capabilities it brings from a platform standpoint. So if you pick the Win10 platform to target, you get all the benefits that you already got from your existing platform. You get the security benefits, availability benefit. On top of it, you're actually future-proofing your application. All our investments going forward are all on the Windows platform. From a development API standpoint, so whether you're actually going to target AI scenarios or cloud scenarios, then your application is future-proofed. To talk about it, like this, one of the partners, if you think about enterprise players, you normally think about it as somebody who would invest heavily on Win32. We started talking with Vitas Healthcare a few months back, and they started taking their Win32 application and started moving over to UWP and Win10 platform, and they've been super happy with all the API support that they have. So we are using a lot of these partners as co-engineering effort to start thinking about what are the desktop API scenarios that you normally use and bring them into a modern platform so you can actually start taking steps to move your Win32 app into the modern world as well. That actually talks about the 4 steps that we have so far. And if you want to get like a more overview or more detailed information, especially on the second part of it I talked about, Miguel and Adam's talk will actually, on the second half of their session, will talk about some of the UI investments as well as some of the framework investments we are making to make sure that Windows 10 platform or UWP is the right investments to make for an enterprise standpoint. So now that we have talked about these 4 steps, I want to actually hand it off to Jesus to talk about some of the new investments we are actually making.
Thank you, JP. Yeah, so now we want to talk about the exciting part, which is the new features that we are bringing into the Windows Developer Platform. And I want to talk about 7 features in particular that we are bringing in today. And if you are like me that love demos and love seeing code writing in the sessions, I apologize in advance because we don't have any of that in this session. We don't have time to do that. However, I will be pointing you to the sessions that have great demos and source code available to learn about these features. So the first feature that I want to highlight is one of the coolest features, which is the Windows UX platform. We have made, throughout the latest months, a lot of investments in the Windows UI platform and Windows UI library. We have made a lot of investments in the platform itself, in the controls, the tooling, the supportability, the sample codes available, and so on. And we keep investing into these features moving forward. One of the features that I want to highlight that we are investing heavily on is modern windowing APIs. We know we have heard from developers, from customers, from partners, that this is a very critical feature that they want to be seen part of the modern UI platform, and we are working heavily into bringing this into life. I want to touch in 2 of the features that we are currently releasing today, which is UI density and the WinUI library. Density means that first time that when we released the modern UI, the modern UI in Windows 8, we thought that, well, the modern UI will be targeting touch devices mainly. So we wanted to make sure that the modern UI was working for touch. However, what we don't realize back then is that still a lot of applications are being built for keyboard and mouse. So we decided to have a new standard, which is the image that you see in the middle, Now we have a new standard for the density, which is still great for touch devices. It still works great with touch and with your finger. And also, it works great with keyboard and mouse. Now, as a user, you don't feel like the application is wasting space. And it's also working great with pen. But if you have an application that really needs to take care of the space and really need to have a lot of controls, for example, some manufacturing applications or some healthcare applications or retail applications, you need to have a bunch of controls, bunch of data into one single screen. Now we have a more compact size that you can also use in your modern UI platform if you want to. And as you remember, this is one of the scenarios that JP was talking about, which is something that we had in the desktop world, and we are bringing into the modern platform now. The next feature that I want to highlight is the WinUI library. And we have a challenge as developers right now, and we get into this challenge by shipping Windows every 6 months. So now we ship Windows every 6 months with new controls, with cool controls that we want developers to use. And if I am a developer and I want to use this new control, I need to make sure that this control will be able to target my users. So basically, if my users are not in the latest build, they won't be able to see my application. So either I have to create 2 applications, or I had to just stay here and use the controls that they are available to my users. With WinUI library, now I can solve this issue. Because as a developer, I just download a NuGet package. I just use the controls in that NuGet package, and then I can just target those controls. When my users run in a previous build of Windows, if the control is not available there, then it will be down level automatically. If you want to learn more about Fluent Design System, the new improvements that we have in the UI platform, new SAML controls, and the WinUI library, don't miss Paul's talk on Tuesday. He has an amazing talk with some really cool demos. The next feature that I want to highlight is inking. So basically, I love this feature because I love writing with real physical pen, and I love drawing as well. So this is a feature that I love because it's personal. It allows me to express myself, and it feels so personal. And with digital inking, it's pretty much the same thing. We are making a lot of investments to make pen have more precision, to make it more accurate, and to feel it more like real pen, like physical pen. And now we are also working to make the inking smart. We released ink analysis APIs a while back, few months back, and we keep improving the ink analysis APIs. With ink analysis, we can not only recognize or store and save whatever the user writes on the screen. Now we are able to recognize if what he's putting into the screen, it's a word, if this word is part of a bigger paragraph or of a bigger sentence, and then we can understand the context within this paragraph or sentence that he's writing. And not only that, we can also do things such as shape recognitions, or we can start beautifying those shapes that they are writing. This is an example of the shapes that we can recognize. So basically, if the user is drawing some of these shapes, we will be able to recognize them, and we also be able to make them look beautiful. So imagine the power of putting these capabilities inside your application. For example, think of a healthcare application that has some X-rays, MRIs, and some other type of images. And the user can start writing there what are their findings about these images. And then you can store this information that they are written on top of the images and save this information and make some analysis and making searchable and storage the right into the right databases just by having the doctors writing in the application. Few of our partners that have already done that are Concepts and Penbook. Concepts is an application designed for graphical designers, for creative designers, and they have really an amazing experience for their users. They have some organic brushes that you can take your pen with, and you can feel like a real pencil. It is amazing how the application works. I encourage you to download it from the store and see the potential of the ink capabilities. And Penbook, they have an application that is used to write some notes into your agenda and also create your agenda and draw some sketches within it. If you want to learn more how to use inking capabilities, how to start using the smart ink capabilities and create some intelligent ink applications, don't miss Varun and Robert's talk on Thursday. They have some really amazing demos to show. And by the way, they will show you how to use ink analysis capabilities without a pen device. You can use it also with a touch device or also with keyboard and mouse. If you want to do the strokes with the mouse, this capability is also available for your applications. The next feature that I want to highlight today is about artificial intelligence. And we all know how important it is today to start thinking about artificial intelligence. And AI, Microsoft has been talking a lot about AI in the cloud in the past months. And now we are also bringing AI functionality and capability into the edge. The edge not as the browser, but the edge as the intelligent edge. And for us, the intelligent edge is basically any device that runs in the edge. It can be a tablet, it can be a PC, it can be an isolated network. All of that is an intelligent edge. And now we are bringing this to developers by WinML. So let me give one step back very shortly about why, as a developer, should I care about AI. And think about the following example. I am a developer, and I am asked to create an application to recognize between 2,000 documents, to recognize or to categorize these documents, because they don't have any metadata, and we need to analyze these documents and see if these are financial documents, political documents, a contract, or so on. Doing that for a developer would be extremely hard by using just traditional algorithms. So AI, that's the power of AI, because it helps us solve problems that are really useful to solve or very hard to solve with traditional algorithms. The benefits of implementing AI right now by using WinML is that, first of all, it's available to all developers. We wanted to democratize AI. That's why we created a platform and some tools available to all the developers. The second thing that we have in mind when we bring the AI to the edge was that we wanted to make sure that we use the same tools and the same platform as we provide to our users and our developers. And the third thing was that we have a complete set of workflow between the AI in the cloud and the rest of the AI products from Microsoft. The best benefit, or the main benefits from using WinML, is that as a developer, I don't need to care about being a scientist or implementing all the infrastructure for implementing a machine learning engine. I can just use the training tools that Microsoft provides, that they are available in the cloud, and I can start just working about my scenarios or worrying about my scenarios and the actual data that I want to see highlighted. Also, it enables me that if I have some models that I already trained in a different framework, as long as I can export these models as an Onyx file, I should be able to use those models in my WinML application. And this is available for Win32, UWP, and progressive web applications as well. If you want to learn more and see some really cool demos in AI in real life, don't miss Scam Talk Tuesday. He has some really good demo about how creating a model, training it, and then just using it in the session. You will be able to see how he trained the model and how he implemented in his sample to do some image recognitions during the session. And if you want to learn more and go hands-on, then don't miss Nick Hands-on Lab. He has 2 hands-on labs on Wednesday and Thursday. You will be able to learn how to create your models, how to export your models as Onyx files and import them into your WinML application, and how to use our tools available for training your models and creating them. And one partner that has already implemented WinML with progressive web applications are Andreas and Eric from Industrial Holographics. They have a demo, a session also on Friday. If you want to see how they applied WinML into their website by using PWA, don't miss their session. It's very interesting. So the fourth set of features that I want to highlight are regarding Microsoft Graph. And this is for creating some cross-devices, cross-platform experiences. Today, most of the users, we handle a lot of personal devices that run on different platforms and different types of screen. For us, for Microsoft to address this issue, we have the Graph. So let me talk to you very briefly about what is Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is all about you as a user. It's your data stored in the cloud, your files, your interactions with others using Microsoft services, your organizational data, such as what is the structure of your organization, your company, and so on. All of that is stored in the Microsoft Graph. If you or your users have already a Microsoft account or an Azure Active Directory account, you should be able to have access to the Microsoft Graph, and your data should be there. If you were a developer like I was back then before the Graph, you had to learn, if you wanted to interact with Microsoft services, with several Microsoft services, you had to learn 1 or 2 or 3 different types of technologies of interacting with these services. For example, if you had to interact with SharePoint, then you had to learn one set of capabilities, APIs, SDKs, and so on. If you had to interact with Azure Active Directory, then you had to learn a new way to do those things. With the Graph, now you only have to learn one way of integrating and communicating with the services, and you will get access to a bunch of services that are part of the Graph. And also, as a company, I don't have to worry if my information is secured or not, because Microsoft Graph is GDPR compliance, and it uses the same infrastructure that Office 365 suite. So I mentioned that Microsoft Graph has a lot of services, a lot of APIs available for it. I want to highlight 3 of the APIs that are available right now for desktop developers and developers working in cross-platform applications. The first one that I want to highlight is activity feed. The second one is notifications, which is new. And the third one is device relay. And for that, I'm going to tell a story where I find out that I was using the 3 APIs, and I find the power of using them. So basically, you probably already heard my accent. I am Mexican. And as a Mexican, I love soccer. Soccer, or football, as we call it there in Mexico. I love soccer. And I have a son which is 5-year-old. And he had his first match of soccer on Friday. So I was ready to go to the first match because there is no way that I can miss that match. So I have to be there. And I am preparing to leave work. I'm just setting my laptop, and JP calls me. Hey, Jesus, have you already filled out the purchase order that you need to complete by today? What purchase order? Yeah, sure, I already complete that purchase order that you wanted. Yeah, don't forget that you need to do it today because otherwise we will lose the contract and we have to postpone the project for a month. Yeah, don't worry, JP, I'm on it. Yeah, don't worry. I will just click submit and that's it. So I just hang up the call. I start working. I open my desktop application and I start working on the purchase order. Suddenly, I got a reminder that it's the last minute that I need to leave in order to get to my son's match. So there is no way that I will make it on time if I need to finish this purchase order. So I just say, okay, I will continue there in the match. I will take my laptop with me, and I just finish the work there. I get to the game. I am in the game. I try to get my laptop, and my laptop is not there. I forgot my laptop. So I say, okay, what do I do? So I grab my Android phone, and I go to the store, and I realize that the application is available on the store. The same application for purchase orders is available there. So I install the application. I log in with my work account, and suddenly I see an activity there, which is my old purchase order. I see, hey, this is purchase order is pending. So I just tap the activity, and I see all the information that I have already put in my laptop in this application. And I can finish the purchase order, and I submit it, and the day is safe. I submitted the purchase order. So in this specific case, what I used, or what the application was doing, was while I was writing the purchase order, it was using activity feed APIs in order to track what I was doing. So it was tracking all my activity in order to allow me to resume the activity later on in a different device. And as soon as I joined in the other device, in the Android device, with my Azure Active Directory account, using the activity feed APIs, I was able to just resume the data. And if I had launched Windows Timeline, for example, I would have seen also the activity there. And by tapping that activity, I could have been able to install the application from there and continue my activity there. So that's the activity feed API. Coming back to my story, the game just finished. My son won the game. We were very happy because his team won. We go to home. We're having dinner. And suddenly, I get a notification in my phone. And at the same time, my home PC is also ringing with a notification. And at the same time, my tablet is also ringing with a notification. So I say, okay, this might be important. I mean, 3 devices, that's weird. So I open the phone, and I see a notification from the approver of the purchase order that the purchase order has been denied because it's missing a lot of information. So I need to complete that within an hour, otherwise it will be denied. So I just see that I have 2 buttons in that actionable notification. I can either fix it, or I can either deny it, or just dismiss it. I click fix it, and then the applications pop up. I can complete the purchase order, and I can start putting the details that were missing. In that case, what happened behind the scenes is that the approver just sent 1 notification to the graph, and this notification was automatically sent to everybody, to all my devices with my same account. So basically, the graph takes care of sending all these notifications to the same user to multiple devices. And when I click fix it, the approver was able to see if I had already working on the notification, or I had dismissed the notification. So that gives you the power also to know if your notifications are working or not working for engaging to your users and customers. And also, something that was very interesting is that when you click dismiss or you take an action in one device, the same action will apply automatically to all the other devices. So if you dismiss the application once, you don't want to be reminded in all the other devices with your same account. So the notification graph API, that's what it did, and it was surprising to see it working. So back to my story, I start putting all the information that was missing together, and suddenly the application asked me, hey, I see that you are writing a lot of text, and I also see that you have a machine with your same account close by that you can use for this because you have a keyboard and mouse in that. Do you want to continue this activity in that device? Sure, why not? So in the PC, I get a notification that allows me to launch the application, and then I can continue to write using my keyboard and mouse. So what happened there is that by using the device relay APIs, the graph was able to discover a new device nearby me with my same account, and also to message that computer and to allow them to launch the application and continue the activity there. So by using these three APIs available as in the Microsoft Graph, you are able to build some amazing cross-devices, cross-platform experiences. One of our partners that have already done that is Safo. Safo, they have an application that connects to the backend of Microsoft Teams, M365, Concur, GitHub, and so on, and they created actionable notifications for the business processes. And some of the companies have already reduced the time they spend for approving an expense report from a couple of days to only a few hours. So that's the power of having actionable notifications in place. If you want to learn more about building cross-devices, cross-platform applications, don't miss Vikas and Megan talk. They have some really cool demos. All my scenario, the story that I told you about, all that scenario, they have it on live, that you will be able to see the code behind that scenario. Really amazing, and I really encourage you to see that presentation. And if you want to learn more about notifications in the graph, don't miss Lishu, Marianne, and Anthony in their talk on Thursday. You will be able to see how Microsoft Graph works and all these notifications, how these notifications work, and all the capabilities around these notifications. So the next feature that I want to share with you is adaptive cards. And I'm going to tell a story also about this feature. I have a friend that works in an advertisement company. And this friend is always complaining with me that he doesn't know what to do with some of his customers, because some of his customers are complaining about the way he's creating the cards, or he needs to create a lot of cards in order to target a lot of the applications. Basically, he needs to create a card for every single experience that they are targeting, whether it's a third-party application or some application from a different vendor, such as Microsoft experiences. So I asked him, okay, what is the problem? What problem you're facing mostly with your customers, or what you don't like when working in these cards? And he told me, well, sometimes they have these templates, these fixed templates, and they tell me what to do, what to put in there, and there is no flexibility for me as a creative. I cannot change almost anything. I can barely change the logo and the information displayed into that card, and that's it. And the card will always be displayed the same way. On some other times, they also update or make some changes to the template. They don't let me know, so they don't send me any documentation. And I continue just developing the same card, the same content. And when I push it to that template, it breaks, because my template was not the same version as the template that I already have deployed. So I have this type of issues. Okay, sounds good. So what would you like to do, or what could you do with other customers? Well, some customers are very relaxed, and they let me do my own card and just put it into an HTML canvas, and that's it. Okay, so that seems like a good solution, right? Well, no, because now they are complaining as well. Okay, they are complaining. Why are they complaining? Well, they are complaining that sometimes the card that I create is not consistent with the application experience that we are targeting, or they complain that sometimes there are some performance issues, and they are blaming my card, that my card is creating these performance issues within their application, or that there is some security risk. So for that, I proposed to him adaptive cards. And he really liked the idea, he implemented it, and he's proposing this idea to their customers. Basically, adaptive cards is taking the best of both worlds, like trying to have a middle ground. First, he as a creative only has to create one JSON file that allows him to create the content and to have a content in a certain way. And then the adaptive card renders will render the card and will adapt to the experience where they are being displayed. So he doesn't have to worry about creating multiple cards. He just creates the card once, and it goes to all the experiences. As an application owner, they can be sure that the experience will be consistent with their application, so he won't break the application experience. There is no security risk, and there is native performance as well. Adaptive cards is a feature available for Windows, web, Android, and iOS. And something good also is the interactive visualizer, because now he can create the card as a JSON file using our tools, which is a web tool that is available for everybody. He creates the card there. He just shares the JSON files with the customer, and then the customer go to the same visualizer, and they can see what the card will look like before they actually deploy it. And he asked me, hey, do you support videos in your cards? And before, in the first release, we didn't support it. Now, in September release, we are supporting video files in the cards and some other amazing features. If you want to learn more about which are these new features, I don't want to steal Matt and Andrew's thunder, so don't miss their sessions on Wednesday. You will be able to see how to create adaptive cards, how to use the visualizer, and how to really create amazing experiences with your cards. Some of the partners that have already implemented adaptive cards for Outlook are ServiceNow, Soho, Sage, and Kronos. And these partners have implemented IT surveys or some other flows like vacation approvals and expense reports, and they are already seeing a lot of benefits or having adaptive cards implemented into their processes. The next feature that I want to talk to you about is about web assets. This is not a strictly Windows development application. However, we know that many companies have web applications as a main line of business application. They rely a lot in the web or also for the consumer-facing applications. So here is a story as well for one of my friends. He has a small company that works in construction, and their company relies mostly in one web application. So basically, they have a web application where they track the projects, where they implement they go to the construction buildings, they do the security assessments, they decide if there is a risk with the construction or not, they take the requirements and so on. So this is everything in a website. So my friend came to me and told me that they have one problem or one issue, which is that they are in a new construction, that this construction does not have any mobile connectivity or any Wi-Fi connectivity. So there is no connectivity at all. So the architects and the engineers that are going to the site don't have a way to really see the questions and put the information in the website. So he asked me, hey, should I create a new application for that, solving that issue? I answered, yes, sure. I mean, you can create a new application. Why not? But you can also still use what you have, your website. Just by repackaging your website as a progressive web application, you will be able to have it installed as an application, as a store application, and your users will be able to see the questions at least that they need to ask when they go on site. So you might not be able to synchronize it, but at least they will be able to not to miss the questions, that they will be able to see what is the right things that they need to ask within site. Because he had an issue that when the engineers go inside and didn't have connectivity, they forget the questions. So basically, they had to make 2 or 3 trips to have the questionnaire complete. So they did that. He liked to implement the PWA that solved their first issue. And then he asked me, hey, I see that you have WinML capabilities and also these inking capabilities. I want to start creating some sketches within my application that allows the engineers and the architects just to create some sketches about the risks mitigation, and then I can save that as a new application or as a vectors, and I can work with that within the office. Can I do that within my existing website, or should I create a new application? I said, yeah, sure, you can create a new application, right? But you can also reuse your website. So basically, with a PWA, now that you have created your progressive web application, you can now repackage, you can now start using all these native capabilities that we have available in Windows 10, and you can start calling WinML capabilities, inking capabilities, and so on. Almost everything that is part of the Windows 10 platform, you will be able to call it as a PWA. And now that you have started implementing this hybrid application, you can really build a hybrid application by using service workers, so you will be able to have offline functionality synchronized with online functionality when your users get connected. So he loved the idea, and he started implementing that. So these are the capabilities that progressive web applications offer for the users. As you can see, most of the native applications within Windows 10 are available within a PWA. Some of the partners that have already gone and implemented PWA are Carnival, Starbucks, and Trivago. These partners have seen amazing results just by doing PWA. They have seen a lot of increase in their user engagement and a lot of more clicks in their websites. If you want to learn more about how to create PWAs, how to create or how to start designing your websites with modern best practices, with the best design recognition in order to really move easy from a website to a PWA, don't miss Aaron's talk. He will be sharing all these best practices in how to move from website to PWA and also to some headless UI applications. So he has a very interesting sessions with some really cool demos. And if you want to learn more about service workers and how to synchronize between online content and offline content, how that works, all the capabilities are behind that. Don't miss Ali's talk on Friday. He has a really interesting session. And again, if you want to see one of our partners that created a progressive web application and implemented into their website WinML capabilities, don't miss the session from Andreas and Eric. This is a great demo that they have already implemented on. And the last feature that I want to talk about is about cross-platform development. So if you want to take advantage of multiple devices, multiple platforms with native responsiveness and calling native functionality within your application, you can leverage Xamarin. So with Xamarin, you can have just one source code running in .NET, and this source code will be able to compile natively to all the other devices, and you will be able to start calling the native capabilities and native APIs from each of these experiences. Few of our partners that have already done that are Shopbox and TrainerRoad. In particular, I like TrainerRoad because I love cycling. And in Seattle, in winter, it's very hard to train outside. So with TrainerRoad, you can mimic all the training efforts that you are doing outside, inside. So if you haven't tried that, just try these applications. Some of the sessions related to Xamarin are these two. And I know that I said that I will be displaying 7 features, but now that we are talking to developers, caring about developer for desktop, you might be asked at some point to develop a website or to maintain a website that is developed in open source. And as of today, you will be able to, or you should create a new development environment. For example, a virtual machine, or just creating a new machine with Linux, so you can code and start using the Linux command. If you are doing that, we have Windows System for Linux available for you. And with Windows System for Linux, basically what you can do is you can call on the same file systems within the Linux device and your Windows machine. You can start sharing file systems. You can start making commands from Linux, from your Windows application to Linux. So basically, you can start integrating your development environments. If you want to learn more about how to download the distros, how to deploy them, the distros within your enterprise, within your company, don't miss Taras and Chris talk on Friday. They will be showing how to create a distro, how to distribute it in the enterprise, and which commands are the most used commands in order to interact between the same file system with both of the platforms, Linux and Microsoft. So having said that, this is just a glimpse of the few features that we are shipping in the new developer platform. And just to remind you that we are committed to implementing new features that are working for you, that are useful to you, and to keep hearing from you what is important, what we should prioritize for the next Windows developer platform build.